Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the season review. It's me, and I'm with the UP lads, well, two of them at least. I've got, Dan, what do we call it? Are you the host now, or do you still think of Gags as the host?
No, Gags wouldn't dare say he was the host of UP anymore. I guess I'm the host now, yeah.
So we have the host of UP. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing really well, mate. I'm actually on top of the world. Actually, we just absolutely fantastic day for Liverpool, isn't it? Another great signing. Absolutely.
Get to announce Darwin, only 4 days overdue by the feeling of it. It happened so quickly, and then nothing happened for days.
Yeah, we love to to leave that vacuum for the social media.
We do.
We love it. We love to do it.
We do. We have to think of a Scouse saying for the player to say as well, which we haven't seen yet. But
oh right, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Fabinho, chicken lad. How are we? They're the wheelhouse. Oh dear. But before we get on to next season and new players, we do have to talk about last season and your overall thoughts, because it's weird because some of the podcasters we talk to don't do weekly shows, whereas you're always breaking it down game to game so analytically. You may have a more unique view on this, but overall views on the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's like the UP is it's a massive commitment, doing every match to the level that we do. And when you're in there, and we talked about it on our season review like last week. I'll just plug that one because I thought it was a fantastic season review pod. When you're in the grind of 2 matches a week and you've got to analyze both, watch both, and do the UP. It's huge call on your time as a fan. Especially if you've got a full-time job to do it all. And because I do that, I do appreciate the journey. Absolutely appreciate the journey that we've been on this season. We've done every step of the way into great detail, and we've seen all the quality that we've got, in the various times and the times that we have thrown in poorer performances and things like that as well. So I mean, for me, the season has been an absolutely magnificent season, one of the best seasons in the club's history. It's a bit of a shame for me that such an achievement as a cup double, which you look at the context of what Liverpool in its entire history, it's a brilliant season, and 92 points. We cannot ever lose sight of just how difficult it is to get 92 points or more, because no other manager in our history before Klopp got more than 91. So it's like, I think we've become desensitized to the absolute elite quality of the squad,
new level of football.
The manager, absolutely, and we must never lose sight of that. And some of our younger fans, I could be like, so come all your dad, but you've never had it so good, because you'll never know, unfortunately, you may never have it like this again. This is a golden period, and it was, and for me, it was a golden season. It's pretty difficult to pick holes in anything in the league, Guy, even for me, because over 38 games, 92 points. It's an amazing achievement. But the only disappointment really was the Champions League final. Yeah. But if you look at that, we're all about process on our pods, all about the process, and there's nothing we could have done in the process which was any better. I thought we controlled virtually every controllable there was to control in that match. And, the first half, could we have really played that first half any better than we did?
You just can't factor in that Real Madrid have magic. That's basically it.
But you say that, and I know they did play brilliantly at 1-0, of course, but, it's a mishit shot. I mean, it wasn't.
It's just they've got that special relationship with it, haven't they?
How can you plan that?
Yeah.
How can you plan for a miss-hit shot? It wasn't an Ancelotti masterclass. It was a miss-hit shot that fell to a player in space, and but even at 1-0, we created 3 or 4 chances which Courtois saved. So yeah, it was a downer, but as we've heard, that was as much to do as the French authorities and the context surrounding the matches as anything else.
Well, we'll certainly come on to them. I'm sure them too will come up in the worst match and worst moment segment as well. But you mentioned a great season for us. Is there a match that you particularly have fond memories of this season?
Yeah, I gotta give a few things which are a bit different to the most, and I think some of it's going to be related to the UP side of things. But this was, for me, it was the second leg of the League Cup semi-final against Arsenal.
Right.
Because you didn't expect me to say that, did you?
No.
Because of we had the training ground closed, didn't we?
We lost to Arsenal as well because we were scared of them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it was we had Public Health England come in, closed the training ground, and we shut down for 3 days, and then we have to get the game postponed, don't we, for a week? And what it was is that it was the Arsenal fan base are just an absolute disgrace. I thought Man United fans were bad on Twitter, but Arsenal just take it to a new level. They are the whiniest, the biggest bunch of man babies. They're just absolute puerile children everywhere. And he's like, Klopp has won 14 out of 20 matches against Arsenal in all competitions since he joined. He's lost once. He scored more than 3 goals, something like 12 of those 20 games. They're his favourite opponent. And Arsenal fans were just all over about the conspiracy theories and why we're getting the training ground closed, trying to get it postponed, we're running scared. It's just absolutely hilarious. And then we go there, and then they have about 15-minute good spell which results in 1 off-target shot. And Diogo Jota ends the season with more goals at the Emirates than Gabriel Martinelli.
Beautiful. I like it.
It's just, do you know what I mean about Arsenal, Guy?
Yeah. Are you when I was growing up, it was the Henry and Bergkamp Vieira team. It was almost a second team because they were the ones stopping United, basically. whereas we weren't in a position to do that. Yeah. It's like, well, Arsenal, you got to back them. And even like their Champions League final against Barca, you kind of have a soft spot for them because everyone likes Henry, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sure. But, God, you have to just really call it the Arsenal fan TV generation, even though I don't think that's in its pomp anymore. But it has just turned, well, you call them man baby. It is the man baby ish up to 11, hasn't it? It's just odd.
Ratcheted it up to 11.
Yeah.
Defo, they are just pathetic.
It is. But I have a soft spot.
Chelsea fans are just nasty, right? But Arsenal fans are just pathetic.
Yeah. But that is Twitter in a nutshell, isn't it? Really, always brings out the worst in people. Yeah. Have you got a favourite moment?
Favourite moment? I did like from an analytical perspective. I did love the Kepa sub at the League Cup final.
Yeah.
The specialist goalkeeper who didn't come on and actually save any pens, that was quite good. But I think just from a science perspective, I think the Thiago goal against Porto at Anfield,
the one that defied physics,
because it defied physics. It almost like rose, didn't it? I think it turned out that it very, very slightly kissed the turf. And which wasn't actually visible really on the camera, was it? And that what it meant to give that, like the hovering and then the rising, that was just a thing of beauty. That was. It was like, that is art.
It was. I mean, it was filth. That's what it was.
That's right. The strike was so pure because it was like an arrow. It didn't deviate, did it? At all.
I just don't think anyone else. It may be Trent, but I don't think anyone else could do that in our team.
No, I don't think they could. No. That was just pure art.
Really was. But sadly, we do have to flip this question. And worst match, there'll be some popular picks on this, but have you got a unique one? Or?
Just for the sake of being different and not saying the Champions League final, when we did the season review, and we talked about where City did well and where they got lucky and where we did well, we got lucky and unlucky. I think the only one we could say that was a really bad performance without mitigation was the Brighton game at home, the 2-2.
Right, I thought you were going to say Leicester. No, that was a bad one as well.
We Mo missed a pen and should have had 4 goals that night.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Brighton game, we didn't really create that many chances. Brighton out XG'd us. What we did have, we missed. Keita goes off injured, and then we lose for 2-0. And worse, Adam Lallana make plays like bloody Riquelme or something up front. Just honest to God, it was the peak of the. We seemed to spend all of the autumn on UP talking about Jordan Henderson's form in the system.
Yeah.
And this was I think this was the peak game as well, where he basically had Trossard and Lallana around him and behind him and stuff like causing all kind. It was just a really bad performance. And I think, even in a team where you get 92 points, you have to look back and say, is there anything we could have done better? Because it was a home game. It was
coming from 2-0 as well.
And we were 2-0 up, and we could have lost it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's the only one you could really pinpoint as a bad match, because, the Spurs away, even given the COVID absences, right, the VAR was absolutely stank the place out. Leicester, we should have scored a hatful anyway. It was one of those days, Maybe the worst moment would be, or this was the worst match, wasn't it?
No, we can move. Yeah, we can move on to worst moment though, if you want to.
Yeah, and I think worst moment. I'm going to go for 2, right? And I'm going to go back to the City 2-2 game at Anfield, and the De Bruyne deflection to make it 2-2. Now, because that's going in. If you win that game, it's a 3-point swing, straight away between you. And that's massive, for 2 teams of that quality. So you get into 2-1 courtesy of genius, and then you look at De Bruyne's shot. Alisson has it covered, and he just takes a massive deflection off. Is it Matip? I
think it was Matip, yeah.
Yeah, and just goes completely the other side of the goal, and then just literally about 2 minutes later, there's the Fabinho sort of looks
like the Rodri block on the line,
and it looks like an open goal almost. Yeah, and it doesn't quite get it away fast enough, and so I think that for me worst moment, because I think that's as close as you're going to get to a moment in the league and sliding doors moment in the league, and and such again with 2 such high quality teams, it does come down to small details and fine margins.
Yeah. So, that's a good shout. That I think I blocked that Fabinho thing from my head till just now.
Did he just not get out from under his feet? And get
I think it fell to his left foot, and then he put it on his right foot, and then Rodri ran the fastest he'd ever ran in his football career.
Yeah.
So, he just kind of appeared. But I think if it fell to any other player, it probably would have been a goal, unfortunately. Fabinho, when he does screamers, doesn't he? Or penalties.
Yeah.
Wasn't he our top goal scorer whilst AFCON was on, or something like that?
Who's that?
Fabinho. Did he score two against Shrewsbury and then a few more?
He did. I think he got 3, and then Ox got a couple. Yeah. So that was it. Yeah, that was it. That was in peak grinding it out mode, wasn't it? Burnley was in there as well.
It was a weird time there. We mentioned a few players there, but this question seems to be going either way, a couple of ways here when I've asked it to other people. And that's player of the year. Some people think you just got to respect what Mo did, especially in the first half of the season, but some have gone slightly different in their picks. But as we mentioned, you look at the game analytically and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Does Mo's off-the-scale numbers translate into that to you? Or Alisson, because, he's a goalkeeper, one of his own.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you can't argue with Mo Salah getting all the awards, and because for the first half of the season, he was unquestionably the best player in world football. For 6 months, he was the best player in the world, and it's been a long time since we could say that. About anybody playing for Liverpool FC.
Suarez probably, isn't it?
Yeah, but even then,
Messi was in his pomp,
yeah, and Ronaldo. So yeah, it was a long time ago. Maybe you got to go back to something like John Barnes.
Before
For those couple of seasons. But even then, you had like Marco van Basten and Ruud Gullit against him and stuff, and Lothar Matthäus. But anyway. But I think it broke no argument at that with Salah in the autumn. Now, the only thing I would say is that the pre and post AFCON was a clear difference. Oh, in the putting the ball in the onion bag. So on that basis, I am going to give it to Alisson Becker because his performance analytically was so far ahead of any other goalkeeper in the league. The problem is with keepers is that they're not sexy. They never get the awards. They never get the plaudits. I mean, unless it's the best keeper award, which is specifically where you have to give it to a keeper. Yeah. They never. I think it's in the European Player of the Year. I think one goalkeeper's won it ever in like 70 years.
Yeah, I think Neuer got third in the Ballon d'Or, didn't he, 1 year, and that was seen as a big victory for goalkeepers.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, so I'm going to say the holy goalie because he was pretty phenomenal the entire season long, and basically him and Virgil, they're the ones who enable the system because we want to play the high line. Virg organises the high line and the offside trap. Ali sweeps up and stops. On the occasions the opposition spring the trap. And what he did, the amount of goals he saved. I've seen some analytical studies estimating he saved up to 11 goals.
I think I seen one that was 19 this morning.
19. Oh, was that the John?
I think it was the Stats Bomb one. I think was it?
Yeah. It's just when you look at, you try and objectively quantify a player's impact on the match results and actually on tangible output. You could say that. In the end of the season, Mo didn't actually outperform his XG at all. He was pretty much neutral by the end of the season because of the hot and the cold spells pre and post AFCON. But if you look at what Alisson did, he was way ahead of in terms of what you want to get in terms of analytical performance. So yeah, I think there's a strong case for whether it's not maybe it's as fashionable as Mo, and Mo does deserve his awards. But yeah, just to be different, analytical, I'm going to go with Alisson.
No, I think if there is one club in the world where you have to appreciate your goalkeeper to the highest degree, it is probably us. Because as you say, if we had De Gea in, who's an excellent shot stopper, we would be letting in, as I said, 19 more goals because he just can't lead his line. So,
well, absolutely, and you saw this in the brief period under Rangnick when they tried to do the pressing system. Him and Maguire, they're hopelessly exposed. They just can't. They can only play in a compact unit. Yeah. They cannot play with space around them. It's just, they're pretty shambolic. Yeah. So it's just like, we need a keeper like Alisson Becker. I mean, Jan Oblak wouldn't be any good for us either.
Mm-hmm.
And if to be fair, right, let's just be clear. Caoimhín Kelleher, when he has played, you can see he trains with Alisson every day because you look at his style, and he fits the style of the team that he wants to. And when he comes in and plays, he does the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did a scouted with Carl the other day, and we were talking about Kelleher, and we'd like him to get first team football, but it's finding someone who could actually back up. And it's not exactly you can just go pick an old English keeper for the quarter off the scrap heap because they won't play like Ali.
Well, it depends what LFC want to do. I mean, doesn't he count as homegrown because through the academy ranks?
It depends how old he was, because he's Irish. It doesn't, but like Robertson doesn't because he's Scottish. It's only Welsh people, isn't it, and English, obviously.
Yeah. So that would be interesting. If he's homegrown, right, I would say there's definitely a case to say just play him more, and then say at some point
give him the FA Cup as well as the League Cup or something like that. Instead.
And you say at some point Ali's going to go, and then by then. You're going to be 26, 27, and you're going to. The shirt is yours.
He can fight out with the Polish goalkeepers we've fought over the years.
yeah. But I mean, you got to look at Kelleher, and what a player to learn from, Alisson Becker.
Yeah, he's the most. Well, but I think Neuer's the one who modernised goalkeeping across it, but Alisson's the one who's brought it to the Premier League. I think. I mean, Ederson gets all the highlights, but Alisson's different level.
I mean, you can't argue that Ederson's got all the Neuer distribution and coming out in the box and stuff like that, but he's just not good enough at the saving.
Not the goalkeeping stuff.
Just not the goalkeeping. He's anyway.
Yeah. before we go on to the next season, then we obviously do the podcast. Is the one that you're overly prouder than the others of this season, or is the one that you like listening to, or anything like that?
I am going to call out one actually, because this was we did something on UP which is completely different. You know, we do the pressing collection, and we forensically go through the video. Was after the Man United 5-0 match, and you know, all the discourse around that match, the narrative around that match about Solskjaer hilariously coming out and saying, right, we're going to press Liverpool. A team that has never done, as if they can just click their fingers and start doing it. So we thought, well, we're just going to collect this now. We're going to break our golden rule. We're actually going to collect the opposition doing it. So for the first time, Gags collected Liverpool as normal, and then Rosie went off and collected Man United. So we went off and colleced the Man United.
Nice Comedy Central segment there.
It was, and then we did a pod on it and put it out on the free side, and we basically spent just about half an hour, 40 minutes or so, just laughing at this. It was the hilarity was so good. It was such a fun pod to do, because we do this really technical thing, right? With in Gags collects it all, and then it goes through a big algorithm, and it churns out a load of metrics at the side. And one of the things we connect is something called pressing chain, right? Now, all a chain is when the next press is within 30 meters and 3 seconds of the previous one, right?
Right.
And so you can see really rapid presses in quick succession, you know, in a chain, and we can plot those on a data visualization, right? So that's one of the things we've got is pressing chain. And in that match, Man United, it turns out they had the longest pressing chain that we've ever seen, right? They had a chain of 12, right? But it ended in the Naby Keita goal that they conceded. As they pressed us and pressed us and pressed us, and we just pass. We went, they pressed us, like McTominay and Fernandes, I think it was, and Ronaldo, pressed us from the halfway line back to Alisson, and then we played back to Alisson. We built up through, it was down on our left, I think, wasn't it? It was through Robertson.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think Hendo was involved, Keita was involved, Mane was involved, and then he just comes back, and then he ends up getting squared to Keita and through ball, and then, you know, it's brilliant. So they press us up and down the field, didn't get a touch, and it just conceded a goal from
basically it. Dog chasing a car pressing.
A puppy.
Yeah, Jesus.
A puppy chasing a ball.
Also managed by an old dog.
Yeah. And then Rosie always talks about, like, Bruno Fernandes that game. He was like, just like steaming 40 meters into a press, and then he turned around and no one had followed him. So we just like said, okay, Bruno, somebody he pressed Trent, for example, Trent to see him, and then you just knock it to Matip, or knock it to Canate, knock it to Van Dijk. We just go around him. It was just. I
think that was probably the moment Bruno gave up on that season.
It was just a really nice thing to do, from a nice twist on what we do on the EP, as well as being really, really fun at the same time.
Yeah, it does sound it. It's always good to laugh at United's expense.
Absolutely. If you can't enjoy these times when you can never do. These are the glory times, my friend.
Absolutely, and it almost leads on to our next question, because our newest signing, who just got announced literally just before this podcast, Darwin, was seemingly, Simon released yesterday that he was expected to go to United, and the Mbappe knock-on effects run deep, seemingly.
That was a lovely one, that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he basically... so the sports science world is small. He knows the Benfica sports science coach. He knows the guy who's their Michael Edwards in their director of football in Benfica, and so yeah, and they basically, when he was chatting to them, doing research for the pod and asking about Darwin's in training and stuff like that, they said, yeah, well, we all thought he was going to go to Man United. We thought the deal was done, and he was lying that they were paying more money than Liverpool were offering, and then we just come in and say, no, that's not happening. Right, players coming in, and he's coming to us. We've got the agent on board. We've got the player on board. Yeah, it's just hilarious, isn't it? Right. The boot is the shoe is on the other foot.
Darwin, this is Zoom. This is Jurgen Klopp. He's a good manager. You want to join him? We like George Mendes. He likes us for money.
Yes.
Come to us.
Yes, absolutely.
But obviously he's probably the second after Carvalho technically, but he's the first big one. You kind of talked about it last night at the end of your UP episode. Do you expect any more?
Well, when we did the transfer committee, I was on that with represent analytics on that one with Gags and Dave and Mo. We did sign a couple of midfielders, although we did release James Milner. So that was so maybe we signed 2 midfielders on the basis of that, and we didn't let anybody go out other than Millie. So maybe I think we'll probably do 1, and I think it's my hunch is it's going to be somebody who can play the 6/8. Maybe a younger player, a similar profile to Nunes, maybe 21, 22. Somebody like that.
Not English Declan Rice.
Yeah, and a not a dickhead Yves Bissouma, Yeah, like that, So, yes. So, I mean, we did sign. I think on the committee pod we signed the Leicester dude, Tielemans and
Coney, wasn't it? Yeah.
Coney, yeah. Is it Gladbach?
Coney? Yeah.
But obviously Tielemans as an 8 is unlikely now. I think
he's linked with Arsenal quite heavily, isn't he?
Yeah. But
although if we went in, he'd probably go with us. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It just seems to be if Millie's not going. He's got another year. It seems unlikely to get. Oh, but you never know. He is a good player, and he would be a good 8 in our system. He'd be a very good 8 in our system. So yeah, we would have to say, because if we keep talking about it, maybe Liverpool will move for him.
Yeah, they're always listening. Michael Edwards.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like we haven't called a lot of players they haven't signed before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, maybe something like that. So I'll go for Kone at Gladbach, because we signed him I think he's only 21. So.
Yeah, I know, he's definitely young. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
Sangare was on our list as well, but we went for and Zakaria, I think, was another one we was on the list as well. But yeah, so yeah, Kone.
Yeah, I think the midfield's probably the one a lot of people will pick on this show. But last question before we go then. Next season's, it's always tough when it's so early on because we don't have all the data if we keep it analytically. But is the expectations to challenge Man City, whether we win or come second, and then get to the semi-final of the Champions League? That seems to be a lot of answers I'm getting this season.
I would basically, I'd say the priority is win the league. That is the priority, and I think it's doable. We are due a little bit more of a swing on a few things, on a few fine moments this season. Hopefully, we might play City without them scoring a deflected goal against us, for example. And that would be nice. We get a bit of luck there in return. But you've got to think that next season is going to be unique because it's sandwiched by the World Cup. By the way, I was going to say at this point, I will not be watching the World Cup. I am boycotting. So I'll have basically 6 weeks off, I think, in the middle of the year.
Watch all the League One football. I'll be on Sky all the time.
Yeah. But Mo Salah is not going, and Luis Diaz is not going. So if you think what Mo Salah could do with 6 weeks off in the middle of the season, people talking about Erling Haaland for their Golden Boot, Darwin Núñez for the Golden Boot, don't look past Mo Salah.
Yeah, I was talking on WhatsApp the other day. I was like, I think there was a poll saying who will score more, Núñez or Haaland, and then someone quoted it and went Salah, and I went, it does scream of Salah and Harry Kane just fighting for the Golden Boot again, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's got to be. I mean, the players they're still elite levels in there. You've still got Van Dijk at his peak. You've still got Thiago. We can get. So it's just there's no reason. It's going to be a 2-horse race. Absolutely, Spurs will.
You not think Chelsea can make a jump at all now?
No, not with not with everything that's going on and their ownership. But they're just going to be like a light version of us from now on, So I'm not worried about Chelsea at all. They're going to lose Rudiger anyway, aren't they? He's their best defender. So I think Tottenham might, potentially, they might make a leap. They've got a great manager.
Yeah, they're already buying a lot of people, aren't they?
Yeah. So, but they won't. There's no way they can have 20 points to challenge for the league. And
no, I think in a couple of years maybe, but again, it's still Spurs, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. They got 86 once in the Poch, but that was their peak. But 86 isn't going to win you a league against Liverpool and Man City.
No, that's a good point. That is a good point. We would have walked so many leagues if it was.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the priority is win the league. I would play heavy youth players in the early rounds of the League Cup, as always.
Yeah.
I would play heavily rotated teams in the group phase of the Champions League, as always. Just go through and don't overexert the key players, and let's just focus everything on the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing that a lot on this show. But that's it, Dan, and that's it for the first half of this show. Thank you, Dan, for joining me. We'll be back with Phil Bart, the new member of UP, for the second half. So stick around for that. Back in a sec. Hello and welcome back to the season review show. We're back with the second half of the UP Lads one. And I've got Phil Bart with me. How are you doing, Phil?
How are we doing? You all right, Guy?
I'm good. We've been finally getting round to recording this. It's only taken us a week or so, hasn't it? COVID and stuff. It happens to everyone, seemingly. But we'll get into this. I mean, season review, season overview from last year. I mean, it was a really uniquely brilliant season because we were in for everything. There was ups and downs, but what were your thoughts on the season?
I think it was one of the best I've ever experienced. That sounds a bit dramatic, but I think I really enjoyed it. I think it was a journey. We kept saying that, but it was just amazing each week to see this side just go and do it, keep things going. And, right up to the last few games, we were still able to win everything. And it was certainly one of the best seasons in my memory. And it's just a shame we didn't go over the line. But, with me, people heard me all season. The process was always good for me, largely always good. So I'm not too despondent about it. But overall, I thought it was fantastic to see some of the performances, see Ali continue to be amazing at the back, Virgil return, Mo start the season off on an absolute worldie. And equally seeing Thiago and Naby play together the first time was pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was like just a secret little present towards the end of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But do you have a favourite match from the season?
Probably because I'm like, statsy, as you know, from my perspective and some of the stuff I've put out, there would be like a best match, which would probably be United away, because we were just brilliant process and brilliant in the final third. And it's always been a place for me to go and, absolutely as a marker of quality. If you win at Old Trafford, that's always been like a big thing growing up as a kid. And to go there and win 5-0, I mean, geez, that was just something else. But in terms of fun, I don't know, some of the Arsenal games were pretty funny because then a narrative coming up before it, how we didn't want to play and that kind of thing. And then we just went and battered them. And even the games we weren't really in it. And then we just sort of turned it on for a moment and blew a team away. Again, Arsenal away probably in the league later on in the season. 0-0 at half-time. Came out second half for some changes and won the game fairly convincingly in the end. So, but yeah, I suppose a favourite because of what it was United away for me, because that's always been a marker growing up as a kid as being a big game in the season. Everton obviously smashing them at their place was good, but United away.
Yeah, I think that one's quite popular this season because, they left about 30 minutes in, which was fantastic, wasn't it? And I think I said, I can't remember who I said it to, but even if Naby didn't get destroyed by Pogba, we probably would have went on and scored more. That kind of killed the game. So,
for sure. In that first half, I think it could have been anything. Would have truly embarrassed him because Naby was on another planet that game.
Absolutely. Have you got a favourite moment?
Yeah, I've got two for you. So, in terms of performance, Mo versus City at home, where he literally beats four players and just cuts back, puts it in the far corner. For me, was peak's probably a bit harsh, but that was just absolute pinnacle of that's Mo Salah. In an instant moment, he's taken the game away from City. Unfortunately, they scored a rebounded goal, which seemed to be a theme of their season developing to get a point. But that was truly amazing. I mean, Ali taking the mick out of Pickford at home, diving in the ball was also hilarious. And then my other one, which I noted in the pod when we did it, was I think just after half time, we're 5-0 up away at Old Trafford, and Trent is doing keepy uppies on the pitch. No one comes near him for about a couple of minutes, and I just thought that summed up. Trent was totally cool. United were like, do you know what? You could do that. You can take the mick. So yeah, there's three there, but yeah, all different. Hopefully.
Yeah, that more goal was, and the fact, well, it's almost impressive because he did it the week after as well.
Yeah, I think it was just the fact it was against City, right? It's not like Watford. Yeah, he did do it against Watford, but I think that Watford side, as it turned out, were truly awful. Yes. So anybody probably could have done something similar against them. But this was the lauded City defence, which, to be fair, ended up being best defence in the league. So, for him to turn them inside out and stick it in there was something another level.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of money he embarrassed that day is just spectacular.
Yeah.
We do have to flip that on its head, though. I mean, worst match. A lot of people are picking the last two games of the season, but is there another one that sticks out in your head?
Yeah, I mean, the Champions League final for me, for different reasons to my other choice, but Champions League final, there's other elements to that which we can go there or not. I largely didn't. I watched the game, obviously. I watched it more on a second watch for UP, and I got annoyed because we were a better side. The process was good, and I still don't really understand how we didn't win the game, apart from Courtois being amazing. But I couldn't really focus on it because I was worried about the fans, and friends in there. I messaged Gag saying, "You guys all right?" That kind of stuff, and you just sort of completely emotionally drained from it before the game had even started. And then you're worried about the aftermath and how it's going to come out, and is everyone going to be all right getting home? And yeah, so I think on the day that was a horrible game, but not necessarily. I mean, I don't like getting beat, but I'm always process over anything else. And the process in that game was fine, but it's just that everything else to it, the emotion was just, oh man, what a way to end the season. And I hope, and the fans being treated like that was terrible. I mean, I toyed with going, as I said on one of the pods, but I'm glad I didn't in the end. But then the other game that I've got has been the worst match. It was Spurs at home, because we were on a roll there, and we considered an early goal and got the goal back. But I think that was the first moment where I sort of I always knew, but some of size points in the chat that we have, it was just the boys were looking jaded. They couldn't find another way to get that second goal. And then I came away from that game going, that's probably it now. That we needed to be perfect in the second half of the season, and we dropped 2 points. And in the end, that was one of the little slivers that meant we didn't win the title. And last game of the season, I can see why people put that, but amazingly, I probably enjoyed that. That sounds mad, but even that little bit glimmer of hope was more than I ever expected. Being 10 minutes away from winning the title was still better than I expected. The only thing that annoyed me out of that was that we didn't go ahead before half time. So I think that might have changed City's dressing room at half time. But no, I think for different reasons, the Champions League final and Spurs at home are my two worst match. Spurs, for analytical perspective, was the worst process, the worst final decision making game of the season. So up there with Leicester away. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the Spurs one, as you say, we were on a huge run, weren't we? And it was, as you say, it needed to be perfect for the title. And then we were just so flat. Even our goal was Diaz's deflected goal, wasn't it? And outside of that, we really didn't do anything. Yeah, and it was just really unlike us to not make. It was the final third stop. We weren't making the right decision. And even Diaz then, I know he's hit a deflected goal, and it sounds harsh, and I don't mean to have a go at him, as I've been accused of, but he should have passed the ball. There was players in better positions. Yeah.
It's just, it's those things that weren't quite happening, and everyone was guilty of it today. It's not just picking on players. It just wasn't clicking. We were in the right positions to create XG. We just didn't make the right call. And it took, we've lamented City for having a deflected goal to get the points, but it should have been so much better than that. In the first half, we had opportunities to make better decisions and get a goal ahead, and then we would have probably seen the game out, I would suspect.
Yeah, I think people have said the same about like Leicester game, and obviously drawing with
that was even worse. That was Leicester game. That Leicester game was even worse. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Worst moment, this can be on pitch, off pitch, because we know the Champions League final stuff, but is there a moment that was just basically...
So obviously the Villa not holding on, I think having had that glimpse, it was more than I expected, but then to be that close, but then the realisation in your head that once City score here, they're going to win the game. And I think once you saw the first one go in and you're like, oh, how long's to go? Right, it's still 15. You know, that was a bit of a feeling. But the other one was a strange one. I don't know whether you had this or not, but City away in the league. Because that first 10, 15 minutes, our big players were having a wobble.
Yeah.
And didn't play well. And I was like, I just wasn't prepared for that. It was, oh, wow, we could get beat here. Like a real, you know, we're in problem, you know, we're in trouble. Let's hope we can get through it. So, yeah, that was a real shock to me because I sort of built that up a little bit wrongly in my head. And I still think it was right that if we'd gone there, I think we would have won the title. With beating City there would have really given us huge momentum going into the back half of the season with, I think, 5 to play or 6 to play. And just seeing our big players, you know, Ali, BBD, Trent, I mean, Hendo's Hendo, but even Fab to a degree, just not quite start that game right. And City be right on it and could have been out of sight in the first 10, 15 minutes. That was probably like a real panic moment, which I just hadn't got used to this season. This season, we've gone out, done our business. You know, it was just such a weird thing for us to see these big alphas not have a good game.
Yeah, probably the more annoying, I think it was the week after we played her in the FA Cup. I know it was their B/C team, but we just went out there and dominated, whereas the league game, it was...
Yeah. But again, I don't think it was necessarily the B side. I think it was just like the A-, if you like, because a lot of the elements there were still first-team players, and a lot of them were still better than the rest of the league.
Bar the goalkeeper, I think it basically.
Oh, the goalkeeper might have been. Yeah, it might have been picked. But even Edison nearly.
He's had his worst season, I think, hasn't he? So,
yeah, he put it in, nearly put it in his own net. And Jota, if he dived on the ball where it rolls across the line, you never know. But I think also our midfield choice in the FA Cup game was better. You know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that was probably NFT's best game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say either that or Benfica away was his best game.
Absolutely. Moving on back to the positive stuff, because don't want to bog down too much. Player of the year. This has kind of been quite varying for the ones I've done. I'm not sure the ones Nina's done, but there seems to be a good selection of people are picking. Is the one for you?
It's just going to be really boring then for you. Because Mo, for me, was just utterly otherworldly the first half of the season, and even second half of the season. The only thing that he wasn't working on was the shots. He was still creating, and a lot of that was because Mane was now playing up front. So Mo was having to do the creation. But the minutes he played, the impact he had on games, the goals, the assists, the hockeys, the pressing was better. I mean, even that Spurs game we're talking, City at home, Mo was chasing back after Son, after their fullback, I can't remember his name now, but Royale, you know, he's the one making backtracking runs to help out with Trent. It's truly phenomenal performance from him. But then I can't go away without saying that Ali as well.
Yeah.
To save that number of one-on-ones, he's legitimately saved double figures worth of goals from one-on-ones. Was incredible, and he probably had one bad game, West Ham away.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, for me, he sat down to the rest of the league and went, "Look, I am the best keeper. You lot can pretend if you want, but this is how you are as a top level keeper." And no one got anywhere near him. He was absolutely superb. So yeah, it's both ends of the pitch for me. That's where our players of the year were. Everybody else had good roles, but I don't think any in midfield can have a shout because of the fact that the minutes, you know, Thiago and Naby played, half a season each, should we say, roughly.
They're basically one player.
Yeah, you know, Fab had injury commitment, injury problems. VVD was coming back. I don't think it was great till November, December. Yeah, Matip again, to go for a season uninjured was truly phenomenal as well. But then other than that, yeah, as I said, it's sort of, they were all good. They were all good players, right? Really, really good. But Mo
and Trent's the only one who comes close to them too. But
Yeah,
I'd agree with them too as well, to be fair.
Yeah, Trent was made, and again he had probably a couple of bad games, but in the games where we didn't get pick up points.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I picked Mo as well. I think the level he reached at especially the first half of the season, it's probably something we've not seen at the club since Suarez was here. So absolutely different level. And as you say, the goals weren't there, but the second half he was still doing other stuff, but he just wasn't shooting or scoring as much. So but them two were the best of the season for me. This one's obviously an interesting question. A podcast that you've been enjoyed either listening to or taking part of it, but this is your first year on UP, isn't it? Or was it last year?
Yeah, this year's first year, yeah. So I don't. It's a bit of a. I probably listen to more pods. I don't know whether I do or not, but than the rest of the UP boys. I don't know. Might not do. But I think either of the United pods for UP were brilliant to be part of. Event Away was also fun. From a UP perspective, it's just they were all performances that were just utterly amazing. Really, to analyse and see how good we all really were. The City Away was a great pod to do. I mean, the result wasn't what you wanted, but to look at it and break it down, the analysis was really good. But in terms of other pods that I've listened to, some of the Raws have been right up there, really cathartic, really fun to listen to. I quite like a lot of the Minefield. They're talking about how they deal with certain issues and that. I quite like that.
Most unique pod, I think, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really unique, and that sort of gives you a different perspective at times. And then obviously always the transfer committees are always good to listen to and see everybody take a role on that. So that's probably the ones I listen to. Certainly. Yeah,
absolutely. The UP work just never stops, does it? It's always a fantastic pod. So, how has it been balancing work plus UP, which is basically work?
I was saying on the last but one pod or something, it's just, I know people probably do realise that they don't, but even having to watching the games back takes a long time, right? But you need to do it, otherwise you're not in the right zone for the game. And then analysing the data. And although you do a lot of similar things for every single game, it's still like you want to find new little truances. And then when you've got double headers, and you've got so if it's a midweek, then a Saturday, the pod will be on a Monday. So you've got to find time on the weekend. If it's like a Tuesday pod, you've got to do you know what I mean? It's just, that's the bit I've got. I found tricky, but love doing it, love getting involved. But it was just that time element. I think having been there and done it a long, long time ago for work, to come back into it now, further down career wise, was like, whoa, yeah, I've forgotten what this was like. But then you have tools like Y-Scout was a godsend to do to. You watch back footage pretty much straight after the game's finished, and you can only watch ball in play footage, which helps out. So.
Yeah, doesn't that usually take out like 30 minutes of the game or something?
Yeah, so most games are below about 55 minutes, so that means you can. And then I generally tend to watch them on 1.5 to 2 speed, so therefore that part of your prep is reduced, and you can concentrate a bit more on the numbers. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I can imagine UP's an absolute bugger to do.
Yeah.
My pods are just rating people out of 10, so that's fine for me. Right, we'll move on then. This question was obviously written earlier in the summer, because it seems like we're done with the transfer business, but maybe we just use this one. You've obviously done the Darwin pod over on UP, and the Mane Goodbye pod was out last night as well. But our transfer business seems to be done. I mean, your thoughts on what we've done so far, and if you do think it is actually done?
So I think Mo and Naby signing is critical.
Yeah.
And that actually largely feeds into a lot of my thoughts about what we've done. I was thinking about this morning, just checking as I was doing some prep for you, make sure it's all right. But for me, we've got something's got. We can't sell Mo this summer, right? So he needs to sign in some way or another, either a short extension or a long one, because if he does intend to leave, we need to get a fee for him. Otherwise, we can't replace. And he can't go this summer because you'd then be replacing fundamentally the entire front three. Yeah. And that's just training time, and the rest of it would be, I think, too unstable for our performance. And Naby needs to come in because he's had his best last season. So those two need to sign. But I also think that then maybe feeds into some of our other business. I still think, although Sile say the minutes are covered with midfield, I still would prefer us to get a right side or a left side 8, one of the two. I don't really mind which one. For different reasons, if you get a left side 8, Thiago go and play the right side 8. If you get a right side 8, Naby can cover Thiago. So, either or. And then Hendo has a distinct role for me as being backup 6 rather than trying anything else, which I think is also quite important. So I just think that's an area I would still like us to look at. But I do think it's tied up with the signings. If we know what's happening with Mo, then we can potentially go after someone this summer because we know Mo's going to be here. So the budget's changed. If we're selling Mo, then we know there's money coming in. So we could potentially go hard for someone next summer for a midfielder and tie it up this year. So, yeah, I suppose from an analytical point of view, I know that we can cover it in midfield. From a slightly non-numbers point of view, I'd like us to get another midfielder. I'm sort of a bit torn about always having to make do. And I just feel like we're one player away from a complete squad. The lad is coming at right back. I'm like the names and rubbish. Seems like a perfect profile, good deal. If Nico goes out for 15 million to Forest or wherever else, then seems like we've made money on that. Darwin looks like a good fit, and I'm really excited about seeing how we change as a team. So he's more of a 9. So that would be really interesting to see whether this double false 9 goes away or whether we would kind of be morphing into playing a 2-man pivot with a 3, like one in behind the one with Naby playing that right side role. Not so much with Hendo, but no, Naby in there, or even Mo comes here and there and Naby goes wide right as Si's played around recently. So I'm really excited about that tactical evolution from that perspective. Who else we brought in? I must have forgotten somebody else.
Carvalho.
Oh, Carvalho, geez. He's a really exciting young lad, obviously. I think Klopp said he's going to play in the forward lineup, so that would be really, I think that could be really good. Again, depending on systems and how we tweak things, he could be interesting, but I'm not going to burden him too much. He's a kid, isn't he? It's like I'm not really expecting too much from Harvey apart from just getting 1,000 minutes under his belt, get used to playing in the Premier League. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the midfield debate, I think everyone understands we have the numbers, but the Henderson debate rolls on again for another year.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of it depends on how much you rate Curtis Jones and Elliott as well.
I mean, I say I do rate Curtis Jones and I do rate Harvey. I'm not sure. I mean, Harvey's not played 1,000 minutes in the Premier League before. Curtis, again, 1,500, I think it is. So
disappeared for the second half of the season.
Disappeared, yeah. So in terms of they need to break into that circle of trust, which Naby has. And if they do that, fine, brilliant. Klopp obviously rates them. He knows more than me, and we crack on, right? But if they don't, and we end up with the same circle of 5 or 4 going into the back end of the season again, then that's a bit of an issue for me, or a worry for me more than anything. But then saying that, Naby could be fixed. He's shown he's shown really massive durability. So yeah, I there's a chance there that he increases his minutes no end. I mean, Si's confident he will. So therefore, if you have that rotation throughout the year, they're not as knackered later on. So yeah, we'll see. I think the fan in me probably wants another midfielder and top quality midfielder as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I think, as you said at the start, I think I'd trade any signing for Mo to get a new deal.
So I'd say Mo and Naby for me, both signing, and Mo would just be. I'd probably be happy then. I'd be like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, screw your wage structure. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody really cares. Just use it as an excuse. Moving last question then. Looking at next season, I mean, the expectations are always there with Liverpool, especially under Klopp in the last few years. It's to win. Well, it is to win the title, but certainly to challenge for the title. It's to get to the end of the Champions League. But we obviously had the domestic cups this year. The squad is down a couple in established players, Minamino's off, Origi, etc. Do you expect us to maybe just focus on the big two rather than?
Yeah, I think if you listen to Sion Fatigue Index with the fixtures, you'll get where I'm going to come from as well. I don't think the schedule allows us this coming season to do what we did last. It is not set up for one club going for history. It is set up for you to prioritise one of the big two or the big two and just bin off the cups as soon as possible. I want to win the league next year. I believe the windows of opportunity with this current team are running out. So therefore, we need to do that. We need to get on and start doing it. So for me to win the league, and I would suggest that we need to be clear at the World Cup break.
Yeah, I think we were well ahead in the season. We won the league.
I think we're due to play less games before. But anyway, we need to be clear at the World Cup break. So our best players, because Mo's not going to the World Cup, Diaz isn't. It's debatable whether Thiago will or won't. Do you know what I mean? There's some key players that will have a rest going into the second half of the season. And I just think if we go into the World Cup break clear, that'll feed into City's mind and anyone else that wouldn't mind joining the party. I don't think anyone will, but then that could be very damaging for them psychologically going back after the break. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a good thing about the break. I mean, do you see anyone joining us in City? Because Chelsea, big flux last year, the ownership stuff, and really underperforming.
I mean, obviously the window's only really just opening, right?
Yeah.
But to bed in the fundamental changes Chelsea have got to do, I'm not sure. The biggest issue, I think I did the preview on them last year, was up front it could all work. They did have the elements to make it work. It just didn't. And maybe with Lukaku going, that's a good thing, right? Because it means Tuchel can play what he wants. He can play a system that works. Havertz was playing very well as a false nine if he stays. Midfield's aging, though. That could be an issue for them, but we'll see who they buy. The big issue with me was lack of pace at the back. And they've also lost established players. So, Rudiger's going, Christensen's going, Azpilicueta's apparently rumoured to be going, Alonso's going. So to bring in that volume of players that are going to have to be starters, I'm not sure you can get out the block starting like a house on fire, which you need to do next season to stand a chance. I think Chelsea might be there or thereabouts. Not there or thereabouts. I think they'll be a strong side, but I don't think they'll challenge for the title. I don't think United will challenge for the title for the same reasons. The overhaul they've got to do, and if they get the players in, could be huge. Newcastle, I think it's probably a season or two too early. They are starting to make some smart signings in terms of, is it Ashworth they've got up there now?
Yeah.
And they've got the money, obviously, to do that. So I would expect them to maybe look at Europe next year. Make or break for Stevie at Villa. He's really probably going to get European football next year. So, or a push for it. Conte at Spurs is another one. I'm not sure. Yeah. They're making some really good signings, but whether they'll have enough quality to really push for the title is another thing. But I think they will have the ability to push City and Liverpool hard. So that and equally, I think they'll be stronger against everybody else, which might help us.
Yeah, I agree with the Spurs point. I mean, Conte is probably the third best manager in the league for my money.
Absolutely.
And the team, well, we saw it when he got settled in. The team was already crafting into his
and that's image. With players that to be frank, are not great. Yeah. So if he's brought in what's the lad? The fella, is it Persic?
Persic.
Yeah, so that's already an upgrade on what he had. He might be old, but he's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Looking at bringing in another centre half, aren't they? So,
Basuma should be fun as well in midfield.
And they're able to maybe bring back Ndombele, what's his name is.
Yeah, if they can ever make him be bothered about football, it'd be a hell of a player. But...
That's a hell of a player to bring back into midfield if Conte feels he can get a tune out of him, So, yeah, I'd keep an eye on that. But otherwise, I don't really see anything past it. Because we chat about it on UP all the time, but to move to 80 points, that's over 2 points a game, is hard. To move to 90 is absolutely incredibly difficult. Perfection. It's almost you're winning, 8 games out of 10 sort of thing. It's absolutely remarkable amount of consistency of performance, and when you're not playing well, still win. And that's the critical thing that I think but not us or New Pete on AI, because we've got a little bit more intelligent, but a lot of fans just go, yeah, we'll make these signings and we'll make up a 20-point gap. It just doesn't work like that. Does not work like that.
You got to find something special, haven't you?
Yeah.
But that's it, Phil. Thank you for joining me. We will pair this with Dan Kennett, and hopefully it'll be out soon. But that is it. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.